Princess Zileana stood at the massive viewport of the royal palace, her 7-foot frame casting a long shadow across the polished crystal floor. The 3 moons of Arvax Prime hung in the night sky, bathing the capital city in soft, multicolored light. She sighed, a sound that made her personal attendants exchange worried glances behind her back. "The Zentari prince has departed, Your Highness," said Lady Vexra, her chief advisor. "His ship just entered hyperspace." Zileana didn't turn around. "Good. That marks the 17th suitor this cycle, Princess," Vexra continued carefully. "Your father is growing concerned." Now Zileana did turn, her skin shifting from a calm blue to an irritated violet. The bioluminescent patterns across her shoulders flared brightly. "My father should be concerned with the trade disputes in the outer colonies, not with who I choose to bond with." The attendants lowered their eyes respectfully, but Vexra held her ground. She had known Zileana since the princess was a hatchling. The ancient laws are clear. You must select a mate before your 300th cycle. That gives you less than 1 standard rotation. Zileana waved one 4-fingered hand. Dismissively, the Zentari prince smelled of decay. The Morgolian ambassador could not hold an intelligent conversation. The Frisian general was too aggressive. She walked across the chamber, her long ceremonial robes flowing behind her. "Is it too much to ask for someone who doesn't bore me?" "To tears? The Emperor requests your presence in the throne room," said a new voice. A royal messenger stood in the doorway, bowing deeply. Zileana closed her eyes briefly, composing herself. "Tell my father I will be there shortly." The messenger departed, and Zileana allowed her attendants to adjust her formal attire. The royal crest of the Arvaxian Empire was embedded with living crystals that responded to her moods, currently pulsing with a mix of annoyance and resignation. "Perhaps the Emperor has found someone worthy of consideration," suggested Vexra. "Hopefully. Perhaps the moons will fall from the sky," muttered Zileana. Emperor Naxver was an imposing figure even by Arvaxian standards. His 8-foot frame was adorned with the battle scars of 100 campaigns, and his skin had settled into the deep purple of advanced age. The crystal throne he sat upon amplified his presence, making him seem almost godlike to visiting dignitaries. Zileana entered the throne room. She immediately noticed the collection of royal advisors and military officials gathered around her father. This was not a social summons. "Daughter," Naxver's voice resonated through the chamber. "You have rejected yet another suitable mate." Zileana approached the throne and gave a perfunctory bow. "The Zentari alliance can be secured through trade agreements. We don't need a royal bonding." "This goes beyond politics," her father replied. "The line of Vio must continue. The Empire needs stability. Your pickiness threatens both." One of the military officials, General Kraz, stepped forward. "Your Majesty, we have received word from our outer beacons. An unidentified vessel has entered the Arvaxian system." The Emperor's attention shifted immediately. "Hostile? Unknown. It's small, using propulsion technology unfamiliar to our sensors. It appears to be on a direct course for Arvax Prime." Zileana felt a spark of curiosity, the first interesting thing to happen in months. "Have we established communication?" General Kraz glanced at the princess with mild surprise at her interest. "Not yet, Your Highness. Their communication frequencies are unlike any we have encountered." "Show me," she demanded. A holographic display materialized in the center of the throne room. A small ship, oddly designed with extended panels and cylindrical segments, moved steadily through space. "Magnify," ordered the Emperor. The image zoomed in on markings on the side of the vessel. Strange symbols were visible. "Horizon Seeker." "It appears to be a new species," said the Emperor's chief scientist, Dr. Yalax. "Preliminary scans indicate the life forms aboard are smaller than Arvaxians, with unusual biological signatures." The Emperor leaned forward, his interest piqued. Threat assessment? The vessel carries minimal weapons, reported General Kraz. Nothing that could penetrate even our atmospheric defenses. They appear to be ... explorers. Zeliana moved closer to the hologram, studying the strange ship. Let them come. Her father looked at her sharply. This is not a matter for your amusement. Daughter, I'm not amused, she replied. I'm curious. If this is truly a new species, their arrival could be historically significant. As future Empress, should I not be involved in such matters? The Emperor studied her for a long moment. It was rare for Zeliana to show interest in anything related to her royal duties. Perhaps this could be turned to advantage. Very well, he finally said. You will be part of the diplomatic welcome, should we determine these visitors are peaceful. Zeliana nodded, trying to hide her excitement. Something new. Something different. Lieutenant Jack Miller had joined the United Earth Fleet because he wanted to see the stars. 5 years of exploration had taken him to a dozen uncharted worlds, but nothing like what lay before them now. Approaching the coordinates. They provided, announced pilot Nia Rodriguez, her hands moving confidently across the control panel. Their station is massive. Jack stood behind Captain Samantha Reeves on the bridge of the Horizon Seeker, watching as the Arvaxian space station came into view. It was unlike anything humans had ever constructed. A vast crystalline structure that seemed to grow organically from a central hub, with ships of various sizes moving around it like bees around a hive. Status report, ordered Captain Reeves. All systems normal, replied Officer Alan Garcia from the communications station. Their tractor beam is guiding us in. It's gentle, Captain. No sign of hostility. Jack adjusted the translator device at his throat. As the ship's xenolinguist, he had been studying the limited transmissions they had received since entering the system. The language was complex, with tonal qualities that human vocal cords could barely reproduce. Any progress with their language? Lieutenant? Asked the captain. Their grammar structure is unlike anything I've encountered, but there are patterns. I've programmed the translators with basics, but we'll need direct interaction to improve accuracy. Captain Reeves nodded. You'll be with me in the first contact team. Standard protocol. We represent all of humanity here, people. Let's make a good impression. As the Horizon Seeker was guided into a docking bay, Jack felt his heart racing. This was why he had joined the fleet, to be at the frontier of human exploration, to meet new civilizations, to learn. The ship settled with a gentle bump, and the external cameras showed tall, purple-skinned beings moving toward their airlock. Atmosphere reads as breathable, reported Science Officer Olivia Bennett. Gravity slightly less than Earth standard. Temperature comfortable. First contact team, prepare for disembarkation, ordered Captain Reeves. Remember your training. Jack checked his translator one last time, then joined the captain and 3 other crew members at the airlock. As the door hissed open, he took a deep breath of alien air. The Arvaxians were even more impressive in person. They towered over the human delegation, their skin shifting colors slightly as they moved. They wore elaborate garments that seemed to be part of their bodies rather than separate clothing. One Arvaxian stepped forward, raising a 4-fingered hand in what appeared to be a greeting gesture. Jack's translator crackled as the alien spoke, converting the complex sounds into English. Welcome to Arvax Prime, travelers from distant stars. I am Zaldaran, chief diplomat of the Arvaxian Empire. Captain Reeves stepped forward. On behalf of Earth and the United Earth Fleet, we thank you for your welcome. I am Captain Samantha Reeves of the exploration vessel Horizon Seeker. Jack watched the aliens carefully, noting their reactions. They seemed curious, but reserved. He was about to whisper an observation to the captain, when a commotion at the back of the Arvaxian delegation caught his attention. The aliens were parting, making way for someone. Jack's breath caught in his throat as she appeared. Even among her own kind, she was extraordinary. Taller, her skin a deeper shade with more complex patterns, her movements graceful despite her obvious impatience. The elaborate crest on her head and the living crystals adorning her robes marked her as someone of great importance. "Princess Ziliana," murmured Zoldarin, bowing deeply. "We did not expect your presence at this preliminary greeting." The princess ignored him, her large, multifaceted eyes studying the humans with open curiosity. When her gaze fell upon Jack, he felt a strange sensation, as if he were being scanned from the inside out, acting on instinct rather than protocol. Jack bowed slightly and spoke in halting Arvaxian, using the few phrases he had managed to learn. "We come in peace and friendship. Your Highness." The entire Arvaxian delegation froze. The princess's skin flashed briefly to a bright gold color, then settled back to purple. She approached Jack, towering over him, her head tilted in what might have been surprise. "You speak our tongue?" she asked in Arvaxian. "Very poorly," Jack replied in the same language. "I am still learning." For the first time in what her court would later recall as decades, Princess Ziliana smiled. The days that followed first contact were filled with diplomatic meetings. The human delegation was given guest quarters in the east wing of the royal palace, an honor that Chief Diplomat Zoldarin explained was unprecedented for visitors. "Must understand," he told Captain Reeves as they walked through a garden of crystal plants that chimed softly in the breeze. "The princess rarely takes interest in diplomatic matters. Her sudden involvement in your visit has caused quite a stir in the royal court." Captain Reeves glanced at Jack, who was taking notes on a small device. "Lieutenant Miller is our linguistics expert. If the princess wishes to learn more about human language, we're happy to accommodate." Zolarin's skin shifted to a thoughtful blue. "It may be beneficial for both our peoples. The Emperor has requested a formal reception tonight. The princess has requested that Lieutenant Miller attend as a cultural advisor." When the diplomat left, Captain Reeves turned to Jack with a serious expression. "This is unexpected, Lieutenant. Something about you has caught the princess's attention." "I'm just doing my job, Captain," Jack replied, though he couldn't help feeling a mixture of pride and nervousness. "This could be good for our mission," she continued. "We need their cooperation to study their propulsion technology. But be careful. We know almost nothing about their social customs or taboos." Jack nodded. "I'll be respectful and observant, ma'am." Later that day, Jack was surprised when two Arvaxian attendants arrived at his quarters with ceremonial clothes made specifically for him. The garment was similar to an earth tunic, but woven with fibers that shifted colors slightly as they moved, mimicking the Arvaxian skin in a more subtle way. "Her Highness had these made for you," explained one attendant. "It is expected that you will wear them to tonight's reception." Jack thanked them and changed into the alien clothes. They fit perfectly and were surprisingly comfortable. He wondered how they had gotten his measurements so accurately docked the great hall of the Arvaxian palace was a marvel of architecture. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet above, supported by columns of living crystal that pulsed with soft light. The floor was a single piece of polished stone that reflected the movements of the guests like a dark mirror. Arvaxian nobles stood in small groups, their skin colors shifting as they conversed, creating a beautiful, ever-changing mosaic dot. When the human delegation was announced, the hall fell silent. Jack felt hundreds of multifaceted eyes studying them with undisguised curiosity. He followed Captain Reeves, trying to remember the protocol they had been taught. Emperor Naxver sat on a raised platform at the far end of the hall, even seated. He was an imposing figure. Beside him was an empty seat that Jack assumed was for the princess, who had not yet arrived. "Welcome, travelers from Earth," The Emperor's voice boomed across the hall. "Your arrival marks a historic moment for the Arvaxian Empire. Tonight, we celebrate new possibilities." Captain Reeves stepped forward and gave the formal greeting they had practiced, while Jack scanned the hall, taking mental notes on the various Arvaxian nobles present. He noticed some wore crests similar to the royal families, while others had markings that seemed to indicate different regions or perhaps professions. A sudden shift in the crowd's attention alerted him to a new arrival. Princess Zeliana entered from a side door, and the entire assembly bowed deeply. She wore robes that seemed to be made of flowing light, and her crest was adorned with living gems that pulsed in rhythm with her movements as she took her place. Beside her father, her eyes found Jack in the crowd. She gave a slight nod, which did not go unnoticed by the court. The formal part of the reception proceeded with speeches and ceremonial exchanges of gifts. The humans presented rare earth metals and data crystals containing earth, music, and art. The Arvaxians gave them beautifully crafted navigation instruments and a small crystal that, according to the Emperor, contained the complete history of Arvaxian civilization. When the formalities ended, the gathering became more relaxed. Musicians played strange instruments that created harmonies unlike anything Jack had heard before. Food and drinks were served by attendants, and the human guests were encouraged to mingle. Jack was sampling a sweet Arvaxian beverage when he felt a presence behind him. He turned to find Princess Zeliana standing there, much closer than protocol likely allowed. "Lieutenant Miller," she said in English, her pronunciation perfect despite the alien structure of her mouth. "You wear our garments well." Jack bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Your Highness. They're beautifully made and very comfortable." "Walk with me," she said, not a request but a command. Jack glanced at Captain Reeves, who gave a subtle nod of permission. He followed the princess to a less crowded area near one of the crystal columns. "Your attempts at our language are impressive," she said, switching to Arvaxian. "Few non-Arvaxians have ever tried to learn it." "It's fascinating," Jack replied in her language, choosing his words carefully. The tonal variations carry emotional context that human languages separate into words. The princess's skin flashed briefly with gold-speck surprise. Jack was learning to recognize. "You noticed that already? Most species require years to grasp that concept." "I have a good ear," he said modestly, "and your language is beautiful." A small crowd of Arvaxian nobles had gathered at a respectful distance, watching the interaction with obvious interest. Jack could sense their confusion, and from some, disapproval. "You are causing quite a disruption in my court," Zeliana said, seeming amused by this fact. "Some wonder why I would waste time speaking with a species so brief." "Brief?" Jack asked, not understanding. "Your lifespan. We understand humans live less than a century. We Arvaxians live for millennia." "Then we have to make each year count," Jack replied. The princess studied him for a long moment. "There is a celebration approaching the Festival of Luminance. It marks the alignment of our 3 moons, an event that occurs once every 50 years. Would you be interested in learning about it?" Before Jack could answer, a tall Arvaxian male approached and bowed deeply to the princess. Jack recognized him from the briefings as Prince Draz of the neighboring Zentari Empire, one of Zeliana's rejected suitors. "Princess Zeliana," he said, his voice deep and formal, "you honor us with your presence at tonight's gathering. Perhaps you would allow me to escort you to the ancient gardens? They are particularly beautiful under the 3 moons." Zeliana's skin darkened slightly. "Prince Draz, I was not aware you had remained on Arvax Prime after our last meeting." "Your father kindly extended my invitation," he replied, casting a dismissive glance at Jack. "I'm sure your human guest would understand the importance of our diplomatic relations." Jack began to step back, not wanting to cause a problem. But Zeliana's hand caught his arm, the first time she had touched him. Her skin was warm and felt like smooth silk. "Lieutenant Miller and I were discussing the Festival of Luminance," she said coldly. "As my cultural liaison, his presence is required." Prince Draz's skin flushed a deep red. "Cultural liaison? This creature barely reaches your shoulder." "The court will talk, Princess. Let them talk," she replied. "Lieutenant Miller shows more respect and intelligence in a single conversation than you have demonstrated in all your visits." The Zentari prince stood rigid with anger. Several royal guards shifted position, sensing the tension. "Your father will hear of this," Prince Draz said quietly before bowing stiffly and walking away. Zeliana watched him go, then turned back to Jack. "I apologize for the interruption." Jack, stunned by what had just happened, struggled to find the right words. "Your Highness, I wouldn't want to cause problems between your empire and the Zentari." A small smile played at the corners of her mouth. "You worry about interstellar relations. How very diplomatic of you." "It's part of our mission," he said honestly. "And what is your personal mission, Jack Miller?" she asked, using his first name for the first time. The question caught him off guard. "To learn, to understand, to build bridges between different worlds." "Interesting," she said. "Most males I meet wish to claim power, territory, or me. Your ambitions are refreshingly different." Across the hall, Jack noticed Captain Reeves giving him a signal that their delegation was preparing to leave. "I should rejoin my team, Your Highness." "Tomorrow," Zeliana said, "you will begin teaching me your Earth languages. And I will teach you more about our Vaxian culture. Be at the Eastern Observatory at first light." It wasn't a request, and Jack found himself nodding in agreement. As he walked back to the human delegation, he could feel the eyes of the entire Arvaxian court following him. Captain Reeves raised an eyebrow as he rejoined them. "Something you want to tell me, Lieutenant?" "I've been assigned as the princess's cultural liaison," he said, still processing what that might mean. "Interesting," she replied. "Just remember why we're here. We need their technology, not royal drama." Jack nodded, but as they left the great hall, he couldn't help glancing back at Princess Zeliana. She was watching him leave, her expression unreadable to human eyes, but her skin glowing with a color he hadn't seen before. The Eastern Observatory was a dome of transparent crystal that sat atop one of the palace's tallest towers. Jack arrived just as the first of Arvax Prime's 3 suns peeked over the horizon, painting the alien sky in shades of gold and purple. The view took his breath away. "Impressive, isn't it?" Princess Zeliana's voice came from behind him. Jack turned to see the princess dressed in simpler robes than the previous night, though they still shimmered with living light. Without her formal regalia, she seemed younger, less intimidating despite her height. "It's beautiful," he said honestly. 3 suns must make your seasons complex." Zeliana moved to stand beside him at the viewing platform. "Our scientists spent millennia developing mathematical models to predict weather patterns. Before that, our ancestors thought the suns were gods playing games with our world. For the next several hours, they exchanged language lessons. Jack taught her English idioms and slang, which she absorbed with remarkable speed. In return, she helped him understand the subtle emotional tones in our Vaxian speech. What began as formal instruction gradually became comfortable conversation. "Why did you choose to study languages?" Zeliana asked as they shared a midday meal. Of strange but delicious fruits, Jack considered the question. "I've always been fascinated by how different people communicate. Language isn't just words, it's culture, history, ways of thinking. When you learn someone's language, you begin to see the world through their eyes." "An unusual perspective," she said. "Most species we encounter view language merely as a tool for negotiation or conquest." "Humans have done that too," he admitted. Our history isn't perfect, but at our best, we're explorers and learners. Zeliana's skin rippled with a thoughtful blue pattern. You are very different from the males of my court. Jack smiled. I noticed. Most of them are quite a bit taller. The princess made a sound that Jack realized was laughter, the first time he had heard it. Not just physically. They approach. Me with rehearsed compliments and political advantages. You speak what you think. Is that a good thing? He asked. It is refreshing, she replied, though dangerous in royal circles. Their conversation was interrupted when Lady Vexra entered the observatory and bowed deeply. Your Highness, your father requests your presence immediately. The Zentari delegation is threatening to depart over last night's incident. Zeliana's skin darkened with annoyance. Tell my father I will be there shortly. When Vexra left, the princess turned to Jack. Politics, she said with distaste. Always politics. Should I apologize to Prince Draz? Jack offered. If it would help smooth relations. You will do no such thing, she said firmly. The Zentari need our alliance more than we need theirs. Draz's wounded pride is not your concern. She gathered her robes and moved toward the door, then paused. Meet me in the ancient gardens at dusk. There is something I wish to show you. After she left, Jack returned to the human quarters to report to Captain Reeves. He found her in discussion with Officer Garcia over data they had collected about Arvaxian technology. Lieutenant, she greeted him, how was your cultural exchange? Productive, he said. The princess is a quick learner and willing to share information about their culture. Good, Reeves nodded. Because we're hitting walls with their scientists. They're polite but evasive about their propulsion systems. Whatever you're doing with the princess, keep it up. We need to build more trust. Jack felt uncomfortable. His time with Zeliana had become something he enjoyed for its own sake, not as a mission objective. But he simply nodded. There's something else, Reeves continued. We've picked up some chatter among the staff. Apparently, your friendship with the princess is causing quite a stir. Some faction called the Purists is particularly upset. I've heard that term mentioned, Jack said. I think they're traditionalists who believe Arvaxians shouldn't mix with other species. Just be careful, Reeves warned. We're guests here, and we don't fully understand their politics. When dusk approached, Jack made his way to the ancient gardens. Unlike the formal gardens near the palace entrance, this area felt wild and mysterious. Bioluminescent plants created paths of soft light, and strange creatures that looked like a cross between birds and jellyfish floated among the tree-like growths. He found Zeliana waiting beside a pool of water that glowed from within. The 3 moons were rising, casting multiple shadows around them. These gardens date back to the first dynasty, she explained as they walked. Every plant here has survived for over 10,000 years. That's incredible, Jack said, reaching out to touch a leaf that curled away from his fingers. They're sensitive to touch, Zeliana smiled, like all living things. They came to a clearing where a single crystal formation rose from the ground. Unlike the polished crystals of the palace, this one was raw and ancient, pulsing with deep, slow light. This is why I brought you here, she said, her voice dropping to a reverent whisper. The heart of Arvax, the first crystal consciousness. Our histories say it fell from the stars before our civilization began. Jack could feel a strange vibration coming from the crystal, almost like a heartbeat. It's alive? In a way we don't fully understand, she said. It responds to thought and emotion. She gestured for him to come closer. Place your hand on it. Jack hesitated. Is that allowed? If this is sacred to your people, I am the princess, she said simply, and I want to see how it responds to you. Slowly, Jack reached out and placed his palm against the crystal. Immediately, warmth spread up his arm, and the crystal's light pulsed brighter. Colors swirled within its depths, not just the blues and purples of Arvaxian emotion, but reds, greens, and colors he had no names for. Extraordinary, Zeliana whispered, her eyes wide. It's showing human emotions. Colors we've never seen before. Jack felt a strange connection to the crystal, as if it was reading his thoughts, his memories, his feelings. Images flashed in his mind Earth's oceans, his childhood home, his first day at the Fleet Academy, and oddly, Zeliana's face when she smiled. When he finally pulled his hand away, he felt dizzy. What just happened? The crystal recognized you, she said, her skin glowing with excitement. This has only happened a few times in our history, always with beings who went on to change the Empire in significant ways. Before Jack could respond, shouts came from the entrance to the garden. Royal guards appeared, followed by Prince Draz and several other Arvaxian nobles. There, Draz pointed. See for yourselves. She brings an alien to the heart. This is sacrilege. Emperor. Naxvar pushed through the group, his expression thunderous. Zeliana, what is the meaning of this? The princess stood tall, placing herself between Jack and the angry nobles. Father, the heart responded to him. It showed new colors. Lies, spat Prince Draz. This human has corrupted the princess's mind. No off-worlder has ever connected with the heart. The Emperor looked from his daughter to Jack, then to the crystal, which was still pulsing with unusual colors. Is this true? Before Zeliana could answer, an elderly Arvaxian in simple robes stepped forward. Jack recognized him as Kethver, the High Keeper of Arvaxian history. The crystal speaks truth, not politics, the old one said. If it showed new colors, then this human has significance to our future. Prince Draz's skin flushed dark red. This is outrageous. First, she rejects proper suitors. Then she parades this tiny alien around the court. And now she allows him to touch our most sacred relic? Careful, Prince Draz, the Emperor warned. You speak of my daughter and heir. An heir who must choose a mate before her 300th cycle. Draz shot back. Or does she plan to bond with this human? Will our next emperor be half alien? A shocked murmur ran through the gathered nobles. Zeliana's skin flashed with anger. You? Forget yourself, she said coldly. The Emperor raised a hand for silence. Enough. Lieutenant Miller, return to your quarters. Zeliana, come with me. The rest of you, disperse immediately. As royal guards escorted Jack away, he caught a final glimpse of Zeliana. Her expression was unreadable, but her skin glowed with a color he had come to recognize. Determination. Back in the human quarters, Captain Reeves was waiting, her expression grave. What happened? The whole palace is buzzing. Jack explained. The incident in the garden and the significance of the crystal. Reeves sighed heavily. This complicates our mission. We're here for diplomatic relations and technology exchange, not to get involved in alien royal politics. I understand, Captain, Jack said, but I think something important is happening here. The princess believes. He was interrupted by the arrival of Lady Vexra. She bowed formally to Captain Reeves. The Emperor requests Lieutenant Miller's presence tomorrow at the Hall of Ancestors, she announced. Alone. What is this about? Reeves asked. Vexra's skin shifted nervously. The Emperor wishes to test the human's worthiness. Worthiness for what? Jack asked. The Arvaxian woman's eyes met his. The trials. No off-worlder has ever been permitted to attempt them. Until now. The Hall of Ancestors was the oldest structure in the royal complex, predating even the palace itself. Massive stone pillars supported a ceiling carved with the history of the Arvaxian people. The air inside felt heavy with age and significance. Jack stood alone in the center of the circular chamber. Captain Reeves had argued against his coming here without the rest of the delegation, but Jack had insisted. Whatever these trials were, They seemed to be his only chance to repair the diplomatic damage. Lieutenant Jack Miller of Earth. Emperor Naxver's voice echoed through the hall as he entered, followed by a procession of robed figures. "Do you understand why you have been summoned?" Jack bowed respectfully. "Not entirely, Your Majesty." The Emperor took his place on an ancient stone seat that looked far less comfortable than his crystal throne in the palace. For 10,000 cycles, the royal line has been preserved through the trials of worthiness. Any who seek to bond with the royal family must prove themselves worthy through 3 sacred tests. Jack's heart skipped a beat. "Your Majesty, I haven't sought to." The Emperor raised a hand, silencing him. "The heart of Arvax has recognized you. This has not happened with an off-worlder in all our history. Some see this as an omen. Others see it as a threat." High Keeper Kethver stepped forward, his ancient face solemn. "The sacred texts are clear. When the heart shows new colors, a great change approaches. Whether this change brings glory or ruin depends on the strength of the one who caused it." From the shadows, Prince Draz emerged with several other nobles. "This is ridiculous. The human should be sent back to his ship. He has no place in our sacred traditions." Jack noticed that Princess Ziliana was not present. He wondered if she had been forbidden from attending. "The decision has been made," the Emperor said firmly. "A council of elders has voted. Lieutenant Miller will face the trials." A murmur ran through the gathered Arvaxians. Jack could sense both approval and anger in the alien voices. "What exactly are these trials?" Jack asked. High Keeper Kethver approached him. 3 tests, each more difficult than the last. First, a trial of body. You must demonstrate physical prowess against our champion. Second, the trial of mind. You must solve a puzzle that has defeated some of our greatest thinkers. Finally, the trial of spirit. You must open yourself to the collective consciousness of our people. Jack swallowed hard. "And if I refuse?" "Then you and your delegation will be asked to leave Arvaxian space immediately," the Emperor stated. "The incident with the heart will be recorded as a malfunction, and all diplomatic relations with Earth will be suspended." The stakes were clear. Jack thought of Captain Reeves and their mission. Failure would mean losing all possibility of an alliance with the technologically advanced Arvaxians. "I accept the trials," Jack said, his voice steadier than he felt. Emperor nodded gravely. "The first trial begins now." The floor of the hall began to shift, sections rising and falling to create a complex arena. From a side entrance, an Arvaxian warrior entered. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, his muscled body covered in ceremonial armor, his skin a deep battle red. "Krastor, champion of the Imperial Guard," announced the Emperor. "Lieutenant Miller, you must either defeat him or remain standing for 100 beats of the sacred drum." Jack looked at the massive alien warrior and then at his own human body. The difference in strength and reach was obvious to everyone. A slow rhythmic drumming began to fill the hall. Krastor moved forward with surprising speed for his size. His 4-fingered hands extended like claws. Jack remembered his fleet combat training. Against a larger opponent, use their strength against them. Let them waste energy. As the Arvaxian champion lunged, Jack rolled to the side, barely avoiding a blow that would have ended the trial instantly. The stone floor was hard against his shoulder, but he scrambled back to his feet. "The human runs," sneered Prince Draz from the sidelines. As expected, Jack ignored the taunt, focusing on the rhythm of the drum and the movements of his opponent. The Arvaxian warrior was powerful but predictable, each attack following a similar pattern. 20 drum beats had passed. Jack was already breathing hard, but he had avoided any direct hits. He studied the arena, noticing how some sections of the floor were higher than others. On the 30th beat, Jack made his move. Instead of dodging away, he ducked under the champion's arm and darted past him, leaping onto a raised section of the floor. From this higher position, he was momentarily at eye level with the Arvexian. Krastur roared and charged, but the raised platform gave Jack an advantage. As the warrior reached for him, Jack jumped, using the Arvexian's shoulder as a springboard to flip over his head. The move surprised everyone, including the champion. Jack landed behind him and quickly moved to another raised section before the warrior could turn. Interesting strategy, the Emperor commented. 50 beats had passed. Jack was tiring, but so was Krastur. The Arvaxian's movements were becoming frustrated, less controlled. Jack continued to use the changing terrain of the arena to maintain distance, occasionally darting in close enough to touch the warrior before dancing away again. At the 75th beat, disaster struck. Jack's foot on the edge of a platform, and he fell hard to the lower level. Krastur was on him in an instant, massive hand reaching for his throat. In desperation, Jack grabbed the Arvaxian's arm and used his own momentum to pull him forward. The surprised champion tumbled over Jack's body and crashed into a stone pillar. Jack scrambled to his feet as the 90th beat sounded. Krastur rose more slowly, his skin now pulsing with an angry deep crimson. With a roar, he charged one. Final time. Instead of running, Jack stood his ground. At the last possible moment, he dropped flat to the floor. The Arvaxian, unable to stop his momentum, tripped over Jack's prone form and fell heavily. The 100th beat sounded. The trial was over. Jack stood, his body aching but intact. Krastur rose to his feet, looking stunned that a human had outlasted him. "The first trial is complete," announced the Emperor. "Lieutenant Miller has proven his physical worthiness through strategy rather than strength. An unexpected approach." Jack saw surprise and grudging respect on some Arvaxian faces. Prince Draz looked furious. A side door opened, and Princess Ziliana entered the hall. Her eyes found Jack immediately, her skin glowing with a mixture of relief and pride. "Father," she addressed the Emperor, "I request permission to explain the second trial to Lieutenant Miller." The Emperor studied his daughter for a long moment before nodding. "Very well. The trial of mind will begin at dawn tomorrow. Lieutenant Miller may rest and prepare until then." As the assembly dispersed, Ziliana approached Jack. Royal guards moved to stop her, but the Emperor waved them back. "You survived," she said softly. "Few expected that." "Including me," Jack admitted, wincing as he felt a bruise forming on his shoulder. "The next trial will not test your body, but your mind," she explained. "It is a puzzle that changes for each person who attempts it. I cannot tell you what form it will take, but I can tell you this. What seems impossible may become possible, if viewed from a different perspective." Jack nodded, understanding that she was giving him what help she could within the rules. "Why are you doing this? Helping me?" Ziliana glanced around to ensure they weren't overheard. "The heart showed me something when you touched it. A possible future. I need to know if that future can exist." Before Jack could ask what she meant, guards approached to escort him back to the human quarters. Captain Reeves was waiting anxiously with the rest of the delegation. When Jack entered, bruised but victorious, she rushed forward. "What happened?" "We've been getting fragments of information from the palace staff, but nothing clear." Jack explained about the trial and what still lay ahead. Reeves looked troubled. "This has gone beyond diplomacy, Lieutenant. These trials sound dangerous, possibly fatal. I'm considering ordering you to withdraw." "With respect, Captain," Jack replied, "if I withdraw, we lose everything. Not just the technology we came for, but any chance of alliance with the Arvaxians." "And if you fail these trials, what then?" Jack thought of Ziliana's words about a possible future. "I don't intend to fail." That night, as Jack tried to rest, before the next trial, there was a soft knock at his door. He opened it to find Lady Vexra, Princess Ziliana's advisor. "The princess asked me to give you this," she said, handing him a small crystal. "She said you would understand its meaning." When Jack took the crystal, it glowed with the same colors he had seen in the heart of Arvek's human emotions reflected in alien technology. Within its depths, he saw a brief image, himself standing beside Ziliana, both of them looking at what appeared to be a shared future. For the first time, Jack understood what was truly at stake in these trials. It wasn't just about diplomacy or technology, or even proving himself worthy. It was about changing the future of two worlds. Dawn on Arvak's prime brought a sky filled with swirling colors as the three suns rose in sequence. Jack stood once again in the Hall of Ancestors, this time before a floating crystal cube that shifted and rearranged itself constantly. "The trial of mind," announced High Keeper Kethver. "This puzzle has existed since the first dynasty. It adapts to the one who attempts it, becoming a reflection of their own thought patterns." Jack approached the cube cautiously. It was about 3 feet across, composed of smaller crystal fragments that moved in complex patterns. As he drew near, the cube's movements changed, becoming more erratic and faster. "You must align the inner structure to reveal the hidden pattern," explained the High Keeper. "You have until the third sun reaches its peak." Jack studied the puzzle, watching how the pieces moved. Unlike the physical trial, there were no cheers or jeers from the assembled Arvaxians. They watched in silent fascination as the human confronted their ancient test. For the first hour, Jack made little progress. Every time he thought he understood the pattern, it would shift and change. Frustration built inside him as the second sun rose higher in the sky. Then he remembered Ziliana's words. What seems impossible may become possible if viewed from a different perspective. Jack stopped trying to follow the individual pieces and instead stepped back. He closed his eyes, letting his mind clear. When he opened them again, he tried to see the cube not as an Arvaxian would, but as a human. "It's not about the pieces," he murmured. "It's about the spaces between them." With this new understanding, Jack approached the puzzle differently. Instead of trying to move the crystal fragments directly, he began to guide the empty spaces, which in turn influenced the solid pieces. The cube responded, its movements becoming more harmonious. The Arvaxians murmured in surprise as the chaotic pattern gradually resolved itself into a complex, three-dimensional image, 2 spiral galaxies, slowly rotating around each other. "The convergence," gasped High Keeper Kethver. "He has found it." As the third sun reached its peak, the crystal cube stabilized completely, its inner light pulsing in a steady rhythm. The trial of mind was complete. Emperor Naxver stepped forward. "You continue to surprise us, Lieutenant Miller. But the final trial will test more than your body or mind. The trial of spirit will reveal your true nature, which cannot be hidden or disguised." Jack saw Princess Ziliana enter the hall, her expression both hopeful and fearful. Their eyes met briefly before the Emperor continued. "You will be connected to the collective consciousness of our people through the crystal network. Your thoughts, memories, and intentions will be visible to all. No off-worlder has ever experienced this connection." Jack felt a chill of apprehension. "Is it dangerous? To your physical body?" "No," said High Keeper Kethver. "To your sense of self? Perhaps. Many Arvaxians find the experience overwhelming, and they are born prepared for this connection." "Will I be able to see the Arvaxian consciousness as well?" Jack asked. "That has never happened with an off-worlder," the High Keeper replied. "But much about you has been unprecedented." Jack looked around the hall at the assembled Arvaxians. Prince Draz stood with his supporters, clearly hoping for failure. The Emperor remained impassive, revealing nothing. And Ziliana, her skin, rippled with complex emotions too subtle for Jack to interpret. "I am ready," Jack said, though he felt anything but ready. 4 crystal pillars rose from the floor, surrounding Jack in a perfect square. From each pillar, a beam of light emerged, connecting to the others to form a pyramid of energy with Jack. At its center, "Open your mind," instructed High Keeper Kethver. "Do not resist the connection." Jack felt a strange sensation, like thousands of gentle fingers touching his thoughts. It was not painful, but deeply unsettling. Images from his life flashed through his mind, childhood memories, his years at the Fleet Academy, the wonder he felt when first seeing the stars from Space Dot, and then more recent memories, his first sight of Princess Liliana, their conversations in the observatory, the moment his hand touched the heart of Arvax. With each memory came emotions, curiosity, respect, and something deeper that he had been reluctant to acknowledge, even to himself. The Arvaxians in the hall gasped collectively as Jack's thoughts and feelings became visible to them through the crystal network. Jack heard their reactions as distant whispers in his mind. "He sees our princess as an equal." Such strange perceptions. His world is so brief, yet so vibrant, ... There is no deception in him, ... Then something unexpected happened. Instead of just projecting his consciousness outward, Jack began to receive impressions from the Arvaxian collective. At first, it was overwhelming, thousands of years of history, cultural memories, and alien perspectives flooding into his human mind. But gradually, Jack found he could navigate this vast sea of consciousness. He glimpsed the ancient history of Arvax Prime, the philosophy that guided their civilization and their hopes for the future. He felt their initial skepticism toward humans transform into cautious respect as they witnessed his trials. And most powerfully, he sensed Liliana's presence in the collective, her determination, her rebellion against tradition, and her vision of a future where Arvaxians and humans stood together as equals. When the crystal beams finally faded, Jack fell to his knees, gasping. The experience had lasted only minutes, but it felt like he had lived several lifetimes. The hall was completely silent. The Arvaxians stared at Jack with new eyes, seeing him not as a curious alien, but as someone they had known intimately through the shared consciousness. Emperor Naxvar was the first to speak. "In all our history, no off-worlder has ever received from the collective, only projected into it. You have experienced our people as one of us." Jack slowly rose to his feet, still disoriented from the experience. "I saw ... everything. Your history, your dreams, your fears. And we saw yours," said the Emperor. "There can be no deception after such communion." Prince Draz stepped forward, his skin no longer the angry red of before, but a subdued blue. "I withdraw my objections. The human has proven himself worthy by our most sacred traditions." High Keeper Kethver approached Jack, placing a ceremonial crystal pendant around his neck. "You have completed the trials of worthiness, Lieutenant Jack Miller of Earth. You are now recognized as a friend of the Imperial House, the first off-worlder to hold this title." The assembled Arvaxians bowed in acknowledgement. Jack felt overwhelmed by the sudden shift from suspicion to acceptance. Princess Liliana stepped forward, her skin glowing with joy. The heart of Arvax was right. "You are the change our people have been waiting for." Later, in the royal gardens, Jack and Liliana sat beside the glowing pool, watched over discreetly by royal guards, who now showed respect rather than suspicion. "What happens now?" Jack asked. "My mission was to establish diplomatic relations, not become part of your royal traditions." Liliana's skin rippled with amusement. "Is that not the ultimate diplomatic relation? You have forged a connection between our peoples that politics alone could never achieve. But there's still the matter of ... Jack hesitated, unsure how to express what he had felt in the collective consciousness. "Us?" Liliana finished for him. "Yes, that is a complication. I must choose a mate before my 300th cycle to ascend to the throne. And you must return to Earth with your mission eventually. The difference in our lifespans alone makes any relationship seem impossible, Jack said quietly. Zeliana took his hand, her 4 fingers intertwining with his 5. When you touched the heart of Arvax, it showed me a possible future. Our scientists have been researching compatibility between our species. There may be a way to extend your life through our biotechnology, or ... Jack prompted. Or I could choose to live a human lifespan, she said softly. To experience life as intensely as you do, rather than watching millennia pass by. Jack stared at her in shock. You would give up centuries of life? Your immortality? What is immortality without meaning? She asked. I have lived for nearly 300 years and felt truly alive only in these past days with you. From the palace came the sound of bells, announcing the beginning of the Festival of Luminance. The 3 moons of Arvax Prime were rising, aligning in a rare configuration that bathed the world in silver light. My father has announced a historic alliance between our peoples, Zeliana said. The technology exchange your captain desired has been approved. But he has also announced something else, my choice of consort. Jack's heart raced. Zeliana, I don't know if I'm ready for. She placed a finger gently on his lips. For centuries, I rejected every male who sought my hand, because none of them saw me, only my title, my power, my bloodline. You saw me as a person first, a princess second dot in the silver light of the 3 aligned moons. Princess Zeliana of the mighty Arvaxian Empire did something unprecedented in her long life. She knelt before Jack Miller, human lieutenant and explorer. In your human traditions, I believe it is customary to kneel when making such a request, she said, her voice trembling slightly. Jack Miller of Earth, will you join your life with mine as equal partners across the stars? The guards turned away discreetly as Jack lifted the alien princess to her feet. In the glow of the ancient gardens, under the light of 3 moons, and within sight of 3 suns, human and Arvaxian embraced, beginning a new chapter in the history of both their worlds.